Good morning, everyone. Kris here with Inspired Energy, and joining me again this Wednesday morning is Hartwell. Good morning, Hartwell.
Good morning, Kris. Good morning, everyone.
So, this morning you kind of wanted to dive a little bit deeper into something that we've touched on before in several of the other episodes, which was the topic of circuits. So, can you
Yes.
tell us a little bit more about what you have in mind for this segment and what you want to dive into?
Yeah. If you're familiar with your human design, which I suspect you might be, showing up at this show, um, the human design body graph is basically a map of how the life energy operates within us. And so this idea of circuitry, which makes us, the whole word makes us think of maybe of electricity, the energy moving between different bodies, is a very important thing. And there are three primary themes within the circuitry of human design. There's the individual circuitry, which is all about empowerment and creates change in the world. And there's the collective circuitry, which is all about sharing. And it's all about learning things, either through a logical process or through an experiential process, and then sharing it. And then there is the tribal circuitry, which is all about how people connect within the context of families, tribes, and communities in order to support each other. So, three key words: empowerment,
Mhm.
sharing, and support. And today I just want to kind of explore a little bit more deeply these themes over the next, 3 or 4 weeks. And we're going to start with the collective circuitry.
Okay, so
So,
how many channels are there for the?
well, in the overall collective circuitry, there's 14 channels, but there's
Mhm.
two themes. So
Mhm.
there are two subsets of the collective circuitry. One is the logical, and it's called the logical or understanding circuit, and the other circuit is called the abstract or sensing circuit. And so we're going to look at the abstract sensing circuit today, which is seven
Mhm.
circuits.
Okay, so what would you say the collective circuitry has a sharing theme? Like, can you tell us more about that? Like, what is the sharing theme?
Yeah. Um, so hopefully, as you listen to some of these things, you have you have your own chart, your own body graph handy, or you have it kind of memorized and you kind of know where your own definition is. And if
Mhm.
all of that is sort of unfamiliar to you, book an appointment with me and we can look at that,
Mhm.
because this is a resource that everybody needs to have access to. So if you're looking at your own chart, one of the things to come to understand is that, what is the principal theme in your own chart? Which circuitry predominates for you? Because that is going to shift the way you look at the world.
Mhm.
If you have, I mean, everybody's going to have a mix, of course, but your defined channels are going to be one of the ways that you'll be able to figure that out, because those are going to be more important than the other activations. But collective sensing circuitry, I like to call it the experiential circuitry,
Mhm.
because really it's about engaging with experience. Often people with a lot of collective circuitry get bored or restless easily, and then they are driven into a new cycle of experience. Okay. And it's interesting because the collective circuitry mirrors itself. If you look at the left side of the chart, where the spleen is, the spleen becomes the center of the logical understanding circuitry. And it's survival oriented and it has a particular flavor. Now, the circuitry we're looking at today is on the right side of the chart, and you can see their mirror images. But on the right side, you have the emotional, the solar plexus, as the center of that circuitry. And so our emotional experience, our needs and desires and all of that are essential, are part of the thematic operation of this of this circuit. So you go through your experiences. Maybe you're driven by boredom and restlessness into an experience. You long for something more, okay? And that longing propels you into experiences. And you have those experiences, you digest those experiences, and then it is the joy and it is the urge of people with strong collective circuitry to share what they've learned. Okay, so it's kind of like, when we think about elders sharing their experience with those who are younger than those they are. When we talk about the school of hard knocks, when we, all these metaphors relate to the collective experiential circuitry. All those messages about, jumping in and learning through experiences and following your dreams and seeing where they take you, all of that is collective experiential circuitry. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. How does that tie into like the line numbers where, somebody would have lots of trial and error? Like, is that
That's a good question, Kris.
Yeah.
Because
I
you
just
might
thought
say,
of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we could speculate on that. We could say that maybe somebody with logical circuitry, their trial and error is going to look much more scientific. Whereas somebody with a predominance of collective experiential circuitry is going to, their trial and error is going to look more like experience after experience after experience, but not dominated by the logical.
Right.
So it has a different flavor. Although you can see how you might, for instance, meet somebody who doesn't predominate in a collective experiential circuitry, but who is a 3-5. Who has that third line of experimentation. And you might say, well, they seem kind of experiential, but you look at their chart and they're not. So there are these ways that we can arrive at some of this. It might present to the world in a similar way, but it's arising from a different factor in the chart.
Just so many layers.
So many layers.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry,
did I take you off track?
No. So the idea here, as always, is that if we want to live a life that is going to be optimum, we want to enter into, in this case, because we're talking about the collective sensing circuitry, we want to enter into something correctly. If we enter into experience correctly, then what's going to happen with the collective circuitry is that we'll feel a deep sense of accomplishment. We'll feel like we're living a life well lived. We'll feel at home in the world. If we enter into our experience, our that sensing experience incorrectly, our life is going to often feel like it is about trauma and drama. So and it's going to, we're just going to feel worn down by life because you get to the point where you feel a little bit run over by life.
I can't get a break. Yeah.
So I would like to look, and this is a breeze through, right? If you were taking a professional course, of course you would spend much more time on this, but I want to breeze through this and look at the different channels, these 7 channels. Okay?
Yeah. So let's look at them. What's the first one?
Well, where I want to start is with the format channel between the root and the sacral center, which is channel 5342. It's on the left side. Okay, this is called the channel of maturation, the design and balance development. And this is all about the awareness that life moves in cycles. So when we look at life from the point of view of experience, there's a beginning, there's a middle, and an end. And then we reflect upon that journey and the experiences that have arisen from that and the lessons that have arisen from our reflection are what we want to share with people. So in the channel of maturation, we have 53, which is about beginnings. It's called the gate of beginnings. And we have gate 42, which is the gate of growth. And so somebody who has this full channel is going to recognize and really want to live life in that cyclical way. Beginning, middle, end, wanting to bring things to completion. It really reminds me of that passage from Ecclesiastes, Kris, the famous one about there is a time to every season. You know, everything has its own season, and the experiential circuitry is really about understanding that life has an experiential rhythm to it.
Yeah.
And there's a bit of a past flavor to the experiential circuitry. There's this sense of being interested in experience, what we've learned from experience, the history, our own history and the history of others and the history of our society.
Well, it reminds me of when the cycles. So there's the cycles of the moon and the cycles, you know, like everything has a time and a cycle that we follow. Like even, you know, women's bodies have a menstrual cycle. Like everything is based on cycles, like and ups and downs and ebbs and flows like the tide, right? So
very much so.
yeah,
And that sense of being embodied within the circle of life, you know, like the Lion King. You know, that is very much about the collective circuitry, the collective experiential circuitry. Now, if you follow the energy, it actually, it starts on the left side of the chart with the 5342, but then it crosses over in the sacral and it picks up at the 29 to the 46. Okay, this is called the channel of discovery. And with grade 29 at one side of that channel, we have, it's called the gate of saying yes. And on the other side is the gate of determination. And so with the gate of saying yes, we say yes to something in life that excites us. Our energy responds, because if you have this channel defined, you'd be a generator. Our energy responds and says, I want to go on this journey. And we say yes to something. We don't know where it's going to end, but determination carries us through and we discover something. That's the name of the channel of discovery. And then that discovery, whatever it is, we want to share it. So I want us to keep coming. Sorry, go ahead, Kris.
Well, I was just going to say, that all makes sense because I have the gate of yes. So I was like, I can see where, you know, that gets triggered in me where, oh yeah, let's go on an adventure. Let's see where it goes.
Yes. It's a very compelling gate. And then it continues on the other side of the G with gate 13 and goes to gate 33, which is in the throat. This is the channel of the prodigal, a design of a witness. So gate 13 is the listener. It has a gift for hearing, sensing, and storing secrets. You know, this is the gate where, you know, everybody wants to talk to somebody who has this gate and confide in them. And on the other side, the gate of privacy takes those secrets and reflects on that experience. And through retreating, you know, it's one of those gates that has us really wanting to hermit or reflect on our own time. And then those secrets and those lessons and those learnings are something that you know, after the retreat, after the privacy, that one wants to share them. I have gate 33, so I'm all about, you know, that kind of reflecting on my own sort of thing. But this is often a channel that relates to the historian, people who really like to study the past and, become obsessed with World War II or,
Right.
ancient Greek battles or,
Yeah.
So that's that channel. In our exploration, let's pick up over down at the bottom again at the root with gate 41. Gate 41 to gate 30 creates a channel of recognition. And this is very much, the 41 is very much about a restlessness that sparks our imagination, to kind of think what could be, what could happen, where could this go? So it's being sparked by a dream, sparked by an idea, better one at a time, than too many, but,
Yeah.
you get sparked by a dream, and it's like you get excited by the possibilities of what could be. And then in gate 30, so this is a hunger for emotional and sexual experience. So we're going to see with the next two channels, this one and the next one, heading up through the solar plexus, there's a very sexual, emotional, experiential theme to this. So it's interesting. The gate 30 is also, it's called the gate of feelings, but it's also called the gate of the fates. So it's like, on one level, we are fated to go on these journeys that are prompted by our restlessness, prompted by our hunger. It's like, I am hungry. I want to experience it all. I want to experience, I want to be in love. I want to, when we're young, especially.
Yep. Yeah, I can relate to that because I have that channel, and my mom's like, you just want to be loved, and there's just this thing about you, and I'm like, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, and we want to jump into things, and especially when we're young, we're not afraid yet.
Yeah.
We just want to. I just want to live.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And so this channel is very much about that. And then, as you go through, you have, you get pulled into experiences, and a lot of them disappoint you. Some disappoint you, some take you on journeys you don't know where they're going to take you. Very seldom do you actually end up with anything that you expected. But then you reflect on it, and then you share it. There's wisdom that comes out of this.
Yeah,
And I mean that
exactly.
especially, if we continue that theme, the 36, 35, which is called the channel of transitoriness, the jack of all trades, it starts with gate 36, the gate of crisis. People with that gate go through a hell of a lot of shit. This is the trauma and drama kind of stream of awareness, stream of experience.
Right.
We just have to chase after the fulfillment of these emotional yearnings. The grass is always greener. I mean, gate 35 is the gate of change. There's this sense of, what I'm experiencing now is not satisfying. It must be better somewhere else. And so it takes us through. Can you see how the themes are showing up? And then, we want to tell our stories once we've had our experiences. We want to share things. We want somehow the collective to be benefiting from, or our children, or the people that we know to be benefiting from what we've
that's
learned.
the wisdom, right? Sharing the wisdom. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, that is one of the best ways to talk about this, I think, is the word wisdom is very much, I think, related to that sense of digested experience.
So,
The other two channels in this circuitry are between the head and the throat. So you've got the 64 to the 47, which is a channel of abstraction, which starts with confusion. We're pressured to make sense out of life, and we play with it, and we think about our experience and all these ideas and all these sensations and thoughts that go through our head, this constant flow of data. And then we have, we come to our aha moments. We come to that sense of, okay, this makes sense. And of course, those ahas are what we often want to share with people through gate 47, the gate of realization.
Yeah.
And here we see a crossing as well. So we start with gate 64 on the left side of the body graph, and then it crosses over to the right side with gate 11.
Mm-hmm.
Gate 11 is the gate of ideas. And it meets up with the gate 56, which is stimulation, to form the channel of curiosity, the design of a seeker.
Mm-hmm.
So the 11 is all about ideas. It's about curiosity, and there's this search for constant mental stimulation, for new ideas, for new ways of seeing things. You want to know, you want to be exposed to other people's new ideas. You want to share your ideas.
Yeah.
You want to blow up a story until it's like, you know what? I call it the BSing gate, the BSing channel.
I think my brother had that one.
Well, actually, it's quite common in my family.
Yeah.
I come from a ranching family, and people
Yeah.
talk about, we just got together to BS,
Yeah.
to kind of tell the stories.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
people from that kind of culture, they often,
Mm-hmm.
you spin the story a bit, right? Because you want it to sound better.
Yeah, I would go for coffee and BS and yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So that's very much, the gate 56 and this channel in general is very much about that storytelling side of us, the storyteller, the philosopher, the teller of parables, the one who wants to, what's the punchline to the story, which is the parable, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
how do you wrap all of this up?
So that was a whirlwind tour. So thanks for bearing with us on that. And I got through most of it, even though, Anyway, think of it as sharing. And when you look at your chart, think about, what is it you like to share? Where are you searching for experience? And if you have channels in that, if you have entire channels in the collective sharing circuitry, realize how important that theme of sharing is for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah. So sharing is caring at the end of the day. So just to let you guys all know that Hartwell will be doing a little tea circle on April 10th, all about helping parents to help children develop their uniqueness through using human design. So if you're interested in that, it's $25. And I think it's $19 if you want to join online. We're going to try and do it by Zoom as well. So for those parents who are busy in the evenings and putting kids to bed instead of being able to come out. So we'd really like you to join that. We're all about, trying to give people the tools to be able to help themselves as well as their children to thrive. So is there anything else that I missed, Hartwell, before we go?
Other than to remind people that if you do want to learn more about human design, we have an online human design course available, which I taught in the fall.
Yeah, so just reach out to us if that's something that you're interested in doing. So with that, we'll say goodbye, God bless, and thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Bye now.